Hi everybody, it's Cheryl from Silver Sage Studio, and today I want to show you how I use the Gina K Wreath Builder to get a completely different look. I'm a big fan of any product or technique or strategy that allows us to use things that we already have in a new way. So I'm starting here with a rainbow of colors here. But there are 6 colors here. And with the Gina K Wreath Builder, there are 8 turns of the card. That will make sense in a minute if you haven't seen other videos on the Gina K Wreath Builder. So I want to add 2 more colors, and I've decided that I'm going to add a pink, and I'm also going to add a turquoise. So I have here Hero Arts Bold Ink in Deep Ocean for my blue, Gina K Tranquil Teal for my turquoise. My favorite things, pigment ink pad in, where's the color? Field Day. Now, this is pigment. Everything else is dye ink, but it's going to be fine. It's going to work just fine. I have Simon Says Stamp Sunshine. I love this color yellow. It's a nice warm yellow. I have My Favorite Things in Orange Zest. I have Pure Poppy from Paper Train Ink. I have Bubblegum from Hero Arts. And I have this Passion Flower Midtone Purple from Hero Arts. This actually stamps quite a bit darker than it actually looks on here. To me, it's a more traditional purple color. The stamp set that I'm going to be using today is a Paper Tray Ink stamp set called Beautiful Butterflies. I do not know if this is still available, but if it's not, I don't believe it is, but if it's not, I'll try to link to something fairly similar. The idea here is that you don't have to have those wreath stamp sets to use this product and to get something out of it. You really can use lots of different stamp sets for this. And that's why I am pulling this out to use it today. So I'm going to go ahead and get my MISTI set up and let's get started. Before we get started, I have to show you this card I did. I already filmed this whole video, had it all ready to go, set the card aside, and one day, a couple days later, I was looking at it and realized I made a big mistake. Can you see it? Can you see it? Well, I didn't see it. I did this whole card, didn't see it until, like I said, a couple days later. So if you haven't seen it already, the mistake is that the turquoise should really go between the blue and the green. And now that I've seen it, I can't not see it. I think I'll still use this card and give it to somebody. But basically, this is the card that we're going to be making today, except for we're going to do the order correctly. Okay, so I've got my MISTI. This is a full-size MISTI all set up with the Gina K Wreath Builder. In this case, I'm using the slightly smaller one where it will be using cardstock cut to 3 3/4 instead of 4 inches. So I've got the template here in the middle, and as I've shown you in the last 2 videos that I did on the Gina K Wreath Builder, there are lines, circle lines carved into this to help you figure out your placement. I also have my template taped down that keeps it from shifting so that everything lines up correctly. I've got a piece of white cardstock here cut to 3 3/4 squares. And even though it's going to be sitting in that template, I still like to use a magnet. Now on my original card, I used a front-facing butterfly, but I've decided since I'm going to be doing the card again to fix my mistake, I'm going to use this butterfly that's kind of at an angle. So it looks more like it's floating in a circle that it's turning. So before I put the butterfly down and decide where it's going to go, I'm going to use that template. And again, that template helps me see where I might be going off of the paper, off the cardstock if I put it out too far. It's easy to do that. I learned that the hard way. Now again, I am still using my magnet. That way, if I need to do a second stamp, I don't have to worry about the cardstock having shifted It doesn't really, it fits in here fine, but it's not like that template is necessarily keeping it from shifting at all. It is still possible for it to shift. So I'm using a lint-free cloth here, and I'm just trying to get off as much of that yellow as I can. And I'm going to move on then to my orange. Now, to help prevent the mistake that I made last time, I've got my inks lined up here in order. So now I'm just going to simply turn the cardstock. And I do believe, we'll see, I think my butterflies are going to end up overlapping a little bit, which I think is perfectly fine. Let's see, just a little bit. The antennas are going to be overlapping on one of those bottom wings. All right, next up is the red, and the red's pretty dark, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. This is one of my favorite inks, Pure Poppy from Paper Tray Ink. Now, speaking of inks, I really do recommend, if you're starting out, if you're new to all of this, that you consider, after you buy black ink and you buy a Versamark ink, that you try to fill in colors of the rainbow. And you can buy sometimes in packs the smaller cubes. I'll see if I can find something and link it. But, you know, I think just having the rainbow allows you to not only do something like this in rainbow order, but also, you know, just make sure that you always have a blue on hand and you always have a pink on hand. All right. I am going to test this next one before I actually stamp on my card because I'm moving now to a lighter color after having done the darker red. It's getting pretty washed out. My apologies for that. I need to be watching my screen. Okay, so it's looking good. So back to what I was saying about inks, I do think it's a good idea to be really conscious if you're starting out or if money is an issue about really what supplies you're getting. And you want to, of course, get supplies that are going to give you lots of options and not break the bank at the same time. So I just want to show you this purple. Oh, I did not have that magneted down. It is much darker than it seems like it's going to be. So there is the wreath of butterflies. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry probably for a couple of hours. I'm going to be heat embossing my sentiment here in the center, and I could just hit it with a heat gun for a while and make sure all that ink is dry, but I find that I just do better when I set it aside and let it dry for sure on its own. So I'll be back. I'm using a sentiment that is from that beautiful butterfly stamp set from Paper Tray Ink, and it says, "Happiness, you make me smile." And I'm going to just place this in the center here and heat emboss with black powder. Now, I stamped here a little bit crooked, as it turns out, but it really doesn't matter because I'm going to be cutting this into a circle, and I can really position this then any way that I want. Okay, so I went ahead and used some nesting circle dies that I have here to cut out the stamped piece of paper and some black cardstock. And I want to show you how I am going to make the circle card. So I have cardstock here that is cut to a wide enough level, just barely. And I have scored it halfway down so it is folded. And I am simply going to tape this die down to where it hangs over the edge up there, the lip, just a little bit. Not a lot because you still want it to look like a circle, but enough that it keeps the pieces together. And keep in mind, the cut is made on the inner part of that circle. So it is just going to be leaving a small little lip. So I'm going to tape that down and go run this through my die cut machine. All right, so let's see how that worked. There we go. We've got a circle base for our card. All right, and here we go, a finished card. I went ahead, as I said, and used foam tape to pop up that top piece and glued the rest of it together. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this card. Again, what I really love about that template, this Gina K Wreath Builder, is that it allows me to use a stamp set that's not in any way intended to be a wreath, to use it in a different way and to get more out of the supplies I have. And that's always a win, if you ask me. Happy crafting, everybody. Thanks for watching. And if you feel so inclined, please click the subscribe button.